you. All right. Hey, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me? Just put a one in the chat. Just a little hiccup in the beginning. Uh, we have a good one today. Um, Hopefully, some of the people I invited will come to the panel and discuss what's going on, because this is going to be a serious discussion, I guess, but we can have a little bit of fun with it, and from the standpoint that everybody can have an opinion without us really getting at each other's throats. From that standpoint, because it needs to be discussed, and I think the point is that men are under attack, because I think we don't get the credit for the fact that American men in the West, we ain't savages. I believe women in the West are the most protected and the most coddled women in the whole entire world. And that doesn't mean that violence doesn't happen. That doesn't mean that some guys go crazy. Just like, racism isn't what it was during slavery days. The violence against women, even though it's still bad in some quarters and in some areas, we got to stop acting like, men should be presumed guilty just because somebody says so. And it's become very, very, very destructive. So we should talk about that. We got a lot of cases to talk about, but we're going to just hit a few of them. And any woman who wants to come up and say why it should lean towards the presumption that a man is guilty before he gets his day in court, I'd like to hear it, because that goes against the Constitution of the United States. Now, pretty much can't be helped with social media and what else? It can't really be helped in terms of commercialism, because if somebody's real popular and, all the women say, listen, if you don't cancel this guy, we're not going to buy your product. That's very difficult. And we're going to touch on that also with Jay-Z, right? Because the NFL is sticking by him so far. Okay. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And that kind of surprises me, because they usually just dump people like hot potatoes once there's some negative press. So they haven't done that yet. So that's an interesting twist. And I don't know if it had anything to do with the fact that wokeism is on a decline, at least for the next 4 years. Now, who knows? It may have a little bit to do with that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the origins of why we're in the position that we're in now. The Me Too movement, especially, was one of the reasons why men get the short end of the stick. And there's a lot of men who've been destroyed by false accusations. So let's kind of level set this. I have daughters, okay? I have daughters. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see you, Peter. Cool. And so what I kind of figured out is this. If you have kids, children that are young, you have to default to the fact that if they make an accusation, you have to believe them, right? I mean, if they're in your inner circle of love, you're going to believe them just on an accusation. There's no other way around that. I couldn't see my young daughter saying somebody touched them and me questioning them and saying that they're lying and that kind of stuff. So I can understand parents and people in the inner circle automatically believing kids when they say something like that, because you have to. Then you have to really do the investigation. You got to calm yourself, get the investigation done. But as people become adults, right? My daughters are adults now, but if they tell me something, I'm still going to believe them. But the person that they accuse is still going to have to go through the process of they'll still have to go through the process of actually proving the allegation, but I'm not going to be the prosecutor, right? I'm going to just be the person who believes them and who's going to be in their corner. But the guy next door might not be, or the person across the town might not be, because they don't know my kids. So that's how you get this layers of belief. The closer the person is to you, the more benefit of the doubt you're going to give them. Just like if you've been a lifelong friend to Jay-Z, and then all of a sudden, 24 years later, somebody says what this lady said about him, I'm not going to automatically believe her because I know this guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfair for a guy to have broken through all the stuff that he's done to be disparaged in the mainstream media the way he is, without any proof, without any due process, without anything. That shit's wrong. Because even if he's exonerated, it's always going to be a stain of the accusation. You know, so I have a suggestion for that one that I'll come back to later on how we handle this, how these things should be handled in the future. Because right now, it's upside down. And there's going to always be some kind of pendulum swing back. Because men, at some point, are going to fight back. You know, at some point, men are going to fight back. They're going to say, this is enough. How many men got to go down just to get, you know, justice for a person who's rightfully accused a man of something? But how many innocent people have to go down because one lady needs to get justice? You know what I'm saying? So that's a problem we have, and I don't think it's getting any better. And so Diddy was a scumbag. Okay, great. But everybody who shook his hand is not necessarily a scumbag. You know, everybody who collaborated him it didn't do what he did. You know, but in the media, social media, would tend to say, well, you went to a Diddy party. Yeah, well, his parties were in two parts. The first part where people partied, and then the second part where people really partied. And everybody wasn't privy to that, right? Because some people said, well, you know, there was a time when they told you if you ain't down, you got to go home. And a lot of people did leave. So we're in a salacious period of time, and it's just so many cases. And I got to say to you ladies, it wouldn't be so bad if ladies didn't lie all the time. Not everybody, of course. But it's not like it's a one-off. It's not like, you know, every once in a blue moon, a lady comes up with some blue fairy tale about the boogeyman. That's just it's not a one-off. Now, I don't know all the percentages. I mean, I've seen different records. It's hard to look up Google and say, well, how many women falsely accuse men? You know, you'll see some numbers like just 10%. But is it, you know, when you're talking about 100 million people, just 10% is a lot of people, right? But then you look at some more data, and it's really a whole lot more than that, you know? So it's just something to look at. So I just want to go through some of the things. Now, Stephen A. Smith, you know, before, you know, I got videos and I got things of that nature to you know, people speaking on this kind of subject in general, you know, and Stephen A. Smith actually says something about this because he knows Jay-Z well and stuff like that. But before we go to that video, anybody ever see a movie called, it's a black and white movie, because this doesn't only happen to men. It's a black and white movie called The Children's Hour. It was a movie with Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine when they were both young. And it's about, they were boarding school teachers, and they taught at an all-girls school, but they lived together, right? You know, they were roommates. And one of the little girls came up with a rumor that she caught them kissing. And the rumor spread across the whole town like wildfire. And then the movie goes on from there. And Shirley MacLaine, her character ends up, you know, deleting herself under the pressure. The movie was absolutely fantastic. It's a great movie. If you like old movies, that was a great movie. Hey, A-Team, how you doing? You know, so if you like the old black and whites, that's a great movie of how an accusation could lead to very, very devastating circumstances, especially if it's not true. You know, and that's where we are today. I think every man who has his name associated with something salacious is under the presumption of guilt before he has to go through some process of clearing his name. And one of the biggest issues is the age of some of these complaints. Now, Catherine Hochul from New York, right? She had she got some power, and then she had this, she changed the law in New York to get Donald Trump, right? So what was it called? The Adult Survivors Act. And the Adult Survivor Act is supposed to expire in March of 2025. But she actually circumvented what we call the statute of limitations in order to get Donald Trump, right? To do her part to get Trump. But what she did was also open up all kinds of stuff and where accusers, and I would imagine some of them they're not all women. Some of the accusers might be men too, are coming after everybody that they feel has done them wrong for whatever reason. And if you could attach some kind of sexual innuendo, that's enough that if a person's rich enough that they might settle out of court just to keep their name from going through the mud. So this is what I call the law of unintended consequences, right? So she opened up this can of worms. I think it's unconstitutional that she did that, and everybody signed on to it because the statutes of limitations are there for a purpose. And that's because over age, witnesses die, evidence is lost, people misremember, all kinds of bad things. And that goes for both criminal and civil cases. So when you remove the statutes, like for example, if it's deletions, there's no statute, right? For certain things, there's no statute of limitations. But for assault, the essay, grape, certain things like that, there's some statutes that need to be followed because evidence needs to be there in order for one person who has their word against somebody else. Just like with Bill Cosby, probably should have never got put in jail, right? He should have never done that, right? Because back then, everybody was popping Quaaludes and all that. So 30, 40 years from now, somebody can say, well, he gave me Quaaludes. Well, it's a good chance that you probably took them willingly. So I don't know how do you adjudicate these kind of cases on one person's word against another. Just like, hey, Through the Fire podcast, what's going on, man? I'm going to be dropping a link fast, man, anyway, because I don't need to be up here by myself. I got some other people coming. Let me just drop it in here. Anybody wants to come up, we could talk about it. It's up there. Yes, it's under BMU because I'm on this page right now. So anyway, just getting back to that. So even this E. Jean Carroll, who got more justice than anybody I've ever known, who came up with the salacious story about Donald Trump, that she later, can give you some impression that it may or may not happen. So she got $5 million for a guilty verdict that said that Donald Trump has some abuse against her. Not great, but it was abuse. And then they awarded her $83 million because he called her a liar in the paper for defamation. It's you're talking about lawfare. I mean, that was crazy. But this thing happened so long ago, he probably really didn't remember who the hell she was, if he ever met her. So when you start using the law as your tool to get back at people, it's really bad. So I think a lot of that's going on right now. The other thing I want to say is, I don't know what's wrong with us as Black people. Well, I do know what's wrong. I think we're a lost tribe of whatever we're lost, but we're lost by race, by gender, by skin color, by everything that some psychotic people have issues with, that make us different from one another. I think we suffer from at some level. colorism, the need to be the need for approval from Zaddy, all kinds of stupid shit, like class divide, the whole 9 yards. Jay-Z should be, regardless of his past, but what he's accomplished as a man, as a black person, he should be at iconic status. You might not like him. You got these, I don't know, they call this his demonic worship and all that. I mean, you got to prove all this shit. But I've never seen so many people of melanated background wanting to see a man destroyed as much as they want to see Jay-Z come down. It's just really crazy. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, maybe I do, but it's sad. It's sad. As soon as I heard these allegations, I didn't believe them at all. Even from the beginning, I didn't believe. I thought this is bullshit. And that's my right to not believe that, he would team up with Diddy for a 13-year-old girl who's at an award show by herself, getting in, and then hanging out with the VIPs and all that stuff and staying around to the end so she could be abused by Diddy and Jay-Z. Just so happens to be the two biggest stars coming out of this thing. And then the other part is this. Her original lawsuit was against Diddy, right? Her original lawsuit was just against Diddy. Jay-Z wasn't even part of this. And that was before Jay-Z got put in jail, okay? So he gets put in jail and his money gets tied up, right? Because there's no way she's going to get any of that money because his money is gone. The federal government's going to take his money. So there's really no settlement that she can get out of that. So her lawyer says, guess what? Why don't we just put Jay-Z's name on this thing too? Open that shit back up, put Jay-Z's name on there because he's loaded. And then we'll send Jay-Z an extortion notice, allegedly, to say, hey, listen, if you give me some money, this shit will go away. And Jay-Z said, what are you talking about? Right? And then he said, well, if you don't, we're going to make this thing public and we're going to bring you through the ringer. I don't know about you, but that shit stinks to the high heaven. Right? Because now anybody could say anything. You had a girlfriend 10 years ago, you broke up, and now she's mad that you moved on and you left her with a baby, or, and then you became a rich millionaire, and then she can just get up and say, yeah, here's my evidence. This baby, he took it from me one night and I don't need a DNA test. We know it's the kid, it's his, blah, blah, blah. You can say anything you want now against a man and have him destroyed before he gets one chance to defend himself. That shit ain't right. That's not America. And one of the funniest parts is that with a lot of women, when you get power, you turn it into a weapon. I'm not saying every woman. But there's a lot of women turn their power into weapons. Well, first of all, there's your sexual power. We don't even have to go down that path. We know there's women who understand that there's a whole bunch of, weak ass men out there, and that their sex is actually the primary weapon. If you knew Star Trek, right? Star Trek had a primary weapon. The weapon that was greater than anything else they had to have the primary weapon. Turn that shit on and make it operate. And then now that women have progressed through whatever means to be chiefs and DAs and, for heaven's sakes, almost president of the United States, they turn the power that they have into a weapon. Kathy Hochul turned her power into a weapon against Trump and changed a law that is probably unconstitutional, but it got unchallenged, or maybe they wouldn't accept the challenge. Alita Jones became, whatever her name is, the AG. I'm running on a panel just so I can put Donald Trump in jail. Using it as a weapon against a man, right? Kamala Harris, using it as a weapon to throw men in jail in California for charges where, they probably should have got probation, if anything, right? I mean, using it as a weapon or a tool for bad, right? The sisters who are mayors getting indicted for all kinds of stupid shit. And it's a lot of them. It's not just a few, it's a lot, from Fannie Willis for thinking that she's a cock of the walk, so she got a subordinate male so she could bang his ass out. Can you imagine that if Wade was her boss and he was banging her out, that the results would be the same, that he would keep his job? He lost his job as her subordinate, and he would have lost his job and probably went to jail as her boss. So this salacious war on men it's got to stop. It's got to stop, because there's always going to be some kind of backlash at some point. And all I would be saying is this, that there's got to be a way to not prosecute people in a court of public opinion, because the court of public opinion is not a just jury. It's not. It's not. And listen, if you live long enough, you realize that it takes maybe 100 times more good news to circumvent or get rid of one bad news report. If one bad news thing about somebody gets out there, sometimes there's no way of even recovering. All right. Oh yeah, man, Trey. Listen, I dropped the link, so if you want to throw it out there, you could come up. I'll drop it again. You should see it in the chat. Or I put it back there as well. All right, there you go. What's going on, man? And what's going on, Ghost of Spada? What's up, gentlemen? How
what's going on? Can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you. Yeah. Hey, listen. I didn't show my first video yet, but what are your thoughts about this believe all women thing? Since I popped you up first, Trey. Go ahead, man. Say your little piece of it. And then
you should believe
it. Just that simple.
Maybe men will be smart enough to stop messing with them. Maybe men will be smart enough to realize that you are putting yourself at a disadvantage for even having any type of contact with a woman. I think you should believe every single one of them. At some point in time, when men will get smart enough to realize every time you come in contact with a woman, you are at jeopardy to lose everything you have, because retroactive consent is a real thing. And women have the right, to change their mind whenever they feel like it.
After the fact. This is crazy.
The question isn't when are we going to believe all believe all women? The question is, when are men going to stop being stupid?
So what's your suggestion? What's your suggestion? The men are going to always interact with women. Heterosexual men.
At the end of the day, this is a procedural issue.
Right.
Right. The issue here is that if you find out that the woman is lying, the typical problem that comes up is that there is no consequence, and that they're just given unabated access to lying. The real true fix in all of this is that there must be a consequence when these women lie. Right. And the consequence, my personal belief, is that the consequence should be the max sentence of whatever crime he was accused of. So if it's rape and the max sentence is 15 years, she should get 15 years for lying. If it's theft, whatever the max sentence is, she should get that max sentence for lying. Now, she should have her day in court, obviously. She shouldn't be automatically convicted, right? But if it is found that she was lying about it, she should then be guilty of falsifying an official document, whatever the case, whatever it is, right? And then she should get the max punishment of whatever said crime is. That would deter women from lying. But the only problem is that these liberals will flip it and say, well, that will deter women from reporting crimes altogether. I disagree. I think that if a crime has occurred and a woman is a victim of a crime, she will report it. What we're trying to do here is deter women from telling lies, blatant lies that they know.
Right.
Right? We just had the
Right.
chick in the Duke case who just came out and said, "I was lying."
Yeah, we're going to cover that. So
You know what I mean?
okay. So there's a balance, right? The balance is again, everything's a balance, and just what you said. How could you balance out whether a woman won't report an actual grape or essay versus putting innocent men in jeopardy for everything that they own, right? Especially, because usually I believe that a woman who's actually a victim, at some point, she will come forward if she has the age. And we need to train them. The earlier you do it, the better, right? So there could be some hesitation there, but 20, 40 years and stuff like that, that's hard to buy. But we'll come back to some of that. Go ahead, Coach Sparta. What's happening, man? Thanks for joining
right,
up.
Man. This is a topic I've been fighting with myself for a while because I personally believe women get away with murder, literally murder. I feel sometimes because I mentioned it on the channel, in my own channel, I was a victim of domestic. My ex used to beat the living shit out of me, and when the cops showed up, like, okay, nothing. Let's slap on the wrist. Don't do it again. They told her and walked away. And I filed complaints and everything. Nothing. So women can get away with a lot more than we can, unfortunately.
Yeah, we know that.
I'm sorry?
No, I said, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm not saying that's in every case. Maybe I got the shit end of the storm, but whatever the case is, if they want to be equal rights with us, then they should be equal everything. Meaning, okay, so you punch a guy in the face, then you should be, arrested equally in everything. If you want equal, okay. But we're more like roommates then. I'm cool with that. You want 50-50? We'll pay 50-50. But they never want that. When it benefits them, they want, oh, no, I'm a woman. You pay more than I do. Like, I just got this argument the other day with somebody. Like, we have to do all the work. We have to ask you guys out. We have to go, pick where we're going to take you for dinner. We have to, do the whole date. You guys have to just dress up and show up. We have to do everything else. And she didn't say a word about it. And she argued about the whole abortion thing. She goes, but we carried a baby. It doesn't matter. It takes two. You open your legs for me. It takes two. It should be both of us agreeing on the abortion thing. It shouldn't be one or the other. It should be both ways.
Well, that one, you know what, man? That one is there. That's tough too. But hey, listen, I want to show y'all this video from Stephen A. Smith. Usually, he's cowering behind his commercialism, but he says something here I think is worth listening to. All right.
Because that's where I'm going here. And the reason why I'm going in this direction, ladies and gentlemen, is because I want you to understand something. When I spoke about Jay-Z and I saw my comments all over social media and I saw it everywhere, you didn't hear me say I had knowledge of the case. You didn't hear me say I had knowledge of who Jane Doe is. You didn't hear me say that I knew a scintilla of what the hell these allegations entail, other than what all of you know. I don't know anything. I'm not espousing innocence or guilt from a literal perspective. But what I'm saying to you, to all of you, in America, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, where I just came from, to Africa, to England and France and everywhere in between, what I'm saying to you is this. If you've known somebody for 25 years, do you not have the right to say, I've known that person for 25 years. I can't see that. I can't see that happening. Do you know how I would feel? I have somebody that works for me, my man Rashawn. I got my man Galen that I've known for 25 years, both of them 25 years. I've got people in the industry that are my friends and not just my colleagues and contemporaries, my friends. They've known me for decades. Stephen A. Smith gets accused of rape. Y'all got nothing to say? Nothing. You're just going to sit there and have nothing to say. Just going to let me hang out there. If you believe in your heart, damn, I've known him for 25 years. I can't imagine him being guilty of such a thing. Nobody's going to say that? Nobody? There's nobody in this world that you'd say that about? If that's your answer, I feel sorry for you. Because that means you don't believe in anybody. You don't have a heart and a soul enough inside of you to imagine that somebody's core decency is just too much to think that they would do something like that. That is a generic statement. That is not impugning the alleged accuser, the accuser. That is not impugning even the lawyer. We certainly wouldn't impugn the courts. We wouldn't do that. But I would hope that if somebody knows you for 25 years and you consider them a friend, that you can say, I can't imagine that. I could never see them doing something like that. I don't believe it. You literally have people scurrying in this industry and advising other people. It's not just me. There's a whole bunch of other people. Oh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Oh, you can't say that. I can't say I know nothing. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody. I'm just telling you the person that I have known for 25 years, that I have seen around young ladies, is not a person I could ever imagine doing something like that. I can't say that because that's all I said.
That's it. All right. So, of course, he can't say that. You know what I'm saying? Of course you can say that. You know? I mean, from that angle, what do you guys think about that? I mean, I think he's, I think he's spot on. Of course you can say that. But how come these guys are cowards? What do you think makes people cowards in this matter of not being able to even just speak out that I don't believe these allegations? You know what I'm saying?
Well, when you make your money based on public opinion, you can't speak out.
Well,
if your money is tied to the public supporting you, how can you say anything against it? For instance, if you're a musician,
right?
If you're a musician, and women buy your records, and you say this woman is lying, and it turns out that she wasn't lying, what did you just do to your fan base?
No, I hear that.
A lot of these people who are not going to say anything because they depend on us, the public, to support them.
Yeah, but based on what Stephen said, right? Stephen A said, he didn't say he made any judgment. He just says, I don't believe my man did this.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's subtle.
Nobody's going to say those things if it's going to put them in a position where they could potentially get canceled. And canceled meaning that they could lose money.
No, I'm with you.
So to do it.
So Stephen A Stephen A did it, right? So what's changed? You think
Stephen A's core audience isn't women, so it doesn't matter. That's why he can say this. The majority of the people he's talking to are men, are sports fans.
Okay. So,
but if his core group of people,
we got a lot of men who are.
Say for instance, why hasn't Beyonce said anything? She's his wife.
But
I know this man. I was married to this man. I have kids with this man. Why didn't she say something? She can't. She can't say anything because her prime audience is women. So she can't say this girl is lying, even though she would only be defending her husband. That's all she would do.
Let's not say lying. Just saying she can't even say I side with my husband. Forget about saying lying or truth. She can't even say I believe my husband. That's what you're saying.
Because what happens to the Beehive if it came out that the girl wasn't lying and there are no inconsistencies in her story? What happens to the Beehive? The Beehive is going to turn on her and it's going to kill his queen. By the way, that's an actual B reference because they do that, by the way. Yeah. They actually do turn on the queen and they kill the queen. So, that's exactly what they would do. They would turn on her and they would kill the queen because she supported would be a rapist. So that's the thing. She can't do it. A lot of these people, when you have to look at it, whenever somebody doesn't say anything, you have to look at, well, why aren't they saying anything?
No, I'm with you. So I don't disagree with what you said, but I got one for you. And because you are partially right, but Hillary Clinton is an example of that. She stood by her husband and she almost became president. A lot of women didn't vote for her at the key time.
Exactly. Exactly. I was just getting ready to say, women did not vote for her. And why didn't they vote for her? Because they didn't like the way she handled things. She didn't like the way that she handled. They felt like she shouldn't have stayed by his side because he was publicly cheating on her.
She got some shit for staying by his side. There's no doubt about that. Well, let's say you goes to Sparta. What say, man? What do you think about just coming out in some kind of support for your friend? Now, not you, but if celebrities. And I agree that if your fan base is mostly women, you got to do a calculation.
I feel like if you're filthy fucking rich and you're on camera, you're selling music or whatever you do, and you're out there in public, you're gonna have a target on your back. Whatever you say, you might, be backlash. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, on didn't. Whatever you say. So that's probably why she's hiding behind closed doors right now. But what the right thing is, her right thing is her to come out and say, "Hey, I know he didn't do this shit. I support my man, my husband, whatever you call each other, my fuck buddy." So she's not supporting as a coward move. Either way, if her fan base is women or not, it doesn't make a difference. I don't think this would have made such a big deal if this wasn't a big figure person like Jay-Z. And I've heard stories like he's not the nicest guy sometimes. I heard stories about that.
Well, okay,
whatever. That's sometimes you have to be an asshole to make fucking money, unfortunately. So let's say if the rumors are true, he's an asshole. Actually, okay, that's fine. You can be an asshole, but it doesn't mean you're not respectful. You mean a respectful asshole. And that's another way of taking it. But again, we don't know if it actually happened. This is a he says, she says personal thing. Are they actual? Took her to the doctor and examined her. I'm not sure what it's called.
24 years ago.
Oh, so you're making a claim from 24 years ago. You have no fucking proof. And this shit fucking blows my mind. After 24 fucking years, why are you coming out now? What's the point of this?
She says she was 13 at the time. That's why it's salacious.
This isn't about the time. I hate when people make that argument. It's a silly argument to make that the time matters. The time is irrelevant. The time is irrelevant. If a crime happened, it needs to be investigated. The issue with the time is that there is a lack of evidence to prove that such crime.
I was going to get to that.
But a lot of this is that a lot of men, when you say these things, you don't quite understand the trauma that some of these women go through, who has actually happened to. And this idea that when it happens, that the first thing they want to do is go run and tell the police. That's not what they want to do. I'm telling you, it's somebody who is taking these reports. They don't want to go run and go tell the police. And so they can hold on to this. They can harbor this. Let's also remember that a lot of these crimes happen by somebody they know. They know the person. They see them at cookouts. They see them at family reunions. So they don't want to report it. So yeah, you may not get her to say something. She may not say nothing for 4 years, 5 years, and then 5 years turns into 10. I don't have an issue at all with the time. I have an issue with the inability of being able to prove it because we don't have any evidence.
Well, yeah, okay, here. So I said this maybe before you came up. When Kathy Hochul changed passed that Adult Survivors Act, they got rid of the statute of limitations. There is a reason for the statute of limitations, though. And like you said, the evidence, memories, witnesses, the longer the time period, that decays. It just decays. That's just part of it. So that kind of circumventing the statute of limitations for certain crimes, that there is one, and like for deletions, I think there's no statute, right? There's no statute of limitations. But for assault and for other things, there are. So that's when I mentioned the time frame, because I was going to get to it, because that was my next segment. And I mentioned this before, that Survivors Act has an unintended consequence, and it also is an opportunity for people to make shit up because of what you said. right? Because that is the real reason that the time shouldn't matter, because I was too traumatized to tell. It's hard to argue against that, right? So, but what it really does, and here's the unintended consequence, it puts a lot of men in jeopardy from just even having a casual affair with a chick years ago, right? Because like you said, retroactively, she could say, well, I thought I was into it, but, now that I think about it, I wasn't into it back then. And then what does a man do to get his name back? Nothing. Whether you pay a dime or you pay anything, and I don't know about it's like 2,500 cases or more, right? And this thing's supposed to sunset in March. It might be more than that now, but the only cases we hear about is the people who are millionaires, right? So are these cases going against just the average Joe out there? What do you guys think? Is the average Joe all of a sudden waking up that he has like some kind of warrant out for his not arrest, but summons to go to court because somebody said, hey, you did something to me 100 years ago and I found you. And maybe there's some of that too. But I think it's, maybe, okay, let's have a discussion. I think that's wrong. I think that law is a power play by a woman to appease other women to attack men. Because she originally did it just to get Trump.
The question is how many of these cases are actually false cases, and how many of them is there actually truth to? See, the thing is that when this is happening, we're just automatically assuming that the men are innocent. No, some of these men did these crimes. Some of these men
automatically thinking that
some of them didn't. The question is, we got to find out which ones did and which ones did not.
But do you think people automatically think the men are innocent, or they should at least have the presumption of innocence? That's what our Constitution says.
It's on the court system to have the presumption of innocence, not on me.
You mean not the? You say the port. Okay, you talk about
the public opinion can have whatever they want.
You can have whatever you want. Yeah,
it's the court. It's the procedural, the system that's supposed to have the innocence until proven guilty. Not me. I'm not a prosecutor.
So that's what we're saying. So social media has melded that, because even when if you are just a nondescript person, nobody knows who you are. So there's a certain anonymity to the fact that nobody knows who you are, even if you're accused.
Well, then maybe some of these celebrities should be more careful about their celebrity. Maybe having casual flings with women is probably not all it's cracked up to be.
Oh yeah, obviously.
And maybe it's time that these guys start being a little bit more responsible with their celebrity and their professionalism. Because the problem is what these guys never seem to understand is you have more to lose than anybody else.
Anybody else.
Anybody, okay. Your assistant, you have the most to lose. So why would you continue to keep putting yourself in positions? I was looking at something today that's like some of these rappers have 9, 10, 12 babies. I'm like, why would you put yourself in those situations? So maybe this is a good thing. So maybe these guys will deal with these women a different way, because from what I'm hearing, like even from the basketball stars, I was watching an interview. The basketball stars were talking about how they would send the water boys to go get the girls and stuff like this. I'm like, you're supposed to be playing a basketball game, and you got the water boy going to go get the number of the girl that's sitting in the stands, and like y'all aren't focused. And then when something crazy pops off, where she retroactively takes back consent, now we want to well she's setting me up. Why are you even doing this?
Well, all right. So, remember now, Jay-Z, that was 24 years ago. Jay-Z wasn't Jay-Z. He just had a J and a Z. But now, he probably didn't know he was going to be as successful as he is now. So his past is coming back to haunt him. In 2000, he was up there, but he wasn't the Jay-Z we know now.
I'm going to look up his records. I'm pretty sure he had a number one.
He was big. I'm sure, but he was big. But, he's a mogul now. But
his outcome out.
And anyway, but that's the point is that there's no right or wrong answer. There's a perspective, I believe, that we have to look at here. Let me ask you about women and power. And, and I don't know, especially, I want to say especially Black women, but women in general, they tend to, we already know that they use sex as a weapon, Now, forget about these allegations. Nobody's saying about grape and all that kind of stuff, but just in general, they know it's a weapon. It's like a primary weapon. But now that they have power in political leanings and stuff like that, they also use that as a weapon. A lot of them do, right? It's like they don't, now that we have all of this newfound power, like men, how do we wield it? And it just seems like, I think there's like some immaturity in how they wield power. Just like a lot of women don't want to work for other women in the workforce because the nature and power sometimes it doesn't mesh the way they deal with each other. And maybe it's a maturing thing over the years where people get used to. But I'm not the only guy who thinks that we dodged a bullet that Kamala Harris didn't become president, because the way the people behaved after she lost, I can't imagine how they would have behaved if she would have won. They're insufferable on both sides. So I just think that a lot of these things are connected in the way our natures are and the way we behave. But I don't know. So I think the fact that men are being dragged, even though some of the men deserve it, is so easy for us to say, maybe that, you should be more cognizant of who you sleep with, right? I mean, because this could come at you. But that's I just kind of think that I think men being destroyed and when they're innocent, I just think that what was this guy's name? He said that it's better for 10 crooks to be set free than one innocent man to go to jail. I don't know whether that was just jurisprudence or did anybody in the legal system really believe that, but you've heard of that before, So is that a mantra that is missing now? That, hey, shit, you know what? As long as we get the bad guys, it doesn't matter how many men get destroyed in that way. Pete, you got anything on that? That's why I'm saying, because it seems that's the way it is. Doesn't, as long as we get the bad guys, because everything, like you said, needs to be investigated. Everything, right? Every accusation, credible or not, let's investigate, see what happened. But it seems like if men get destroyed in the process, just to find the real bad guys, somehow I don't want to use the word fair. That just seems like that's anti our American system. Or is it just no way around it?
Our court system here in America, I don't agree with at all. You have one judge that has way too much power. He can literally destroy your life, or you can continue your life. I like it like having overseas, to be honest with you. 4 people, 4 judges. They have to unanimously. So you have like one person say, hey, I don't think this person did X, Y, and Z. But the other 3 are like, oh, come on, man. You kind of like, no. They have to agree. I know I'm not a very favorite idea that is. People are like, oh, that's this stupid idea. But I personally think it works.
Okay.
One person has way too much power like that. Like, you already have these officers out there trying to do their jobs, and some are crooked, some are good cops. When they do the right thing, now the judge is right there like, okay, now I got to figure out who did what or whatever evidence. Here's the evidence. But they're just some are just statements. Like who's lying, who's paid off. That's the hardest part. So how do you sit back and say, hey, one person is going to, tell me I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life, or the other person is going to walk free? I don't agree with it. Personally, I think we do a justice system.
So let's go through.
Can we address something first?
Yeah, go ahead.
How does a judge get to make a decision? If you go to trial, Ghost of Sparta, how does a judge get to make the determination of whether or not you're guilty or innocent?
On what's called it? When I got arrested, it was because the cop that arrested me. Simple.
He doesn't make a determination just on that. It's got to be more than that, right? It's got to be evidence.
Yeah. And technically was no evidence. It was my word versus my ex's.
So where you going with this, Trey? I mean, it's your word against your ex. Would you rather have the judge himself or a judge or a jury? Or if it's just he said, she said, if we're going to make it that way with no evidence whatsoever, right?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't hear his answer. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Can you hear him now?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, say your answer again.
I said it was because, the evidence that I've been, accused against me. But in my case, when I got arrested, it was my ex versus my word. It was no hard evidence.
Let me ask the question again. When you go to court, how does a judge get into the position that they can make the determination of whether you're guilty or innocent? I'm talking about for felonious crimes, cases that go to trial. I'm talking about misdemeanors. I'm talking about cases that go to trial. How does a judge get to be the one to do it?
Educate me. I'm not sure.
You have to choose it. If you are being charged with a crime, you have to tell the court, I want what's commonly referred to as a bench trial, right. Meaning I want the judge to make the determination rather than having a jury make the determination.
Mm-hmm.
So if a judge sent your ass to prison, you asked for it. It's because somebody told you had a better shot with the judge and they didn't do it correctly. It's not one of these things where you wake up and the judge says, well, you're going to jail. No, you got a choice. You can pick the jury or you can pick a judge. Most people pick a jury. But every now and then it is more beneficial, depending on how the judge has ruled in the past, to actually pick the judge, because the judge is either more lenient on these things or more liberal or more conservative or whatever the case may be. But a lot of these cases, when we're looking at this, we cannot sit here and act like, well, women being in power all of a sudden means that this is an attack on men. No, we have to actually have men start to be a little bit smarter about their interactions with men. With women. I read something yesterday. I read something today on Reddit where the girl was asking, is it sexual harassment? This is silly, but she's asking, is it sexual harassment that she doesn't get invited to any of her male co-workers' events? That's where we got to go. You have to literally go to work, be cordial with your female counterparts, and that's it. We have to put them in a situation where they realize men won't talk to us at all. But until we get to that point, you can continue to have these problems. You can continue to have these things because most men are too weak to do anything. And so the women being in power is going to affect them because, well, I got to go take this woman, or I got to go cold approach this, or I got to go do all this stuff. And you're going to feed right into the system. The only way to break this cycle, even if the women are in power, is to flat out ignore them. You have to be cordial at work, so be cordial at work. But outside of work, you ain't got to talk to these women. But we won't do that because we're too afraid to actually go that type of cold shoulder. We won't do it. So guess what? These females being in power, they're going to get to do exactly what they want to do because the men aren't strong enough to be men.
Man, I tell you what, boy, you really putting some pressure on the human nature.
I want men to be smarter. I want men to be smarter.
I agree. I mean, there's no argument. Go ahead and
fighting back against the rape accusation. His attorney filing a letter to the judge to dismiss the rape lawsuit against his client, citing an NBC News exclusive that found inconsistencies with the accuser's story.
You should always advocate for yourself.
It comes after our interview with a 38-year-old mother from Alabama who accuses Sean Diddy Combs and Sean Jay-Z Carter of raping her when she was 13 years old. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward? Because I think that I've been quiet long enough.
She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000. The woman says she spoke to Combs' limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party. She says at the party, she spoke to musician Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo. It's the Last Supper.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative for the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at that time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter both raped her. She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up.
We rode home in silence. She didn't ask me what happened.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. I feel like I would remember that, and I don't, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said, in remembering what happened 24 years ago. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. A representative for Combs called the suit a shameless money grab.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out.
Chloe Malas, NBC News.
Thanks for watching.
All right, so all right, so there's some more to that too, right? Let me add this. All right, so another thing that I don't know if you knew this, Trey. She originally had the suit just against Diddy, but that was before he got arrested, when the money was still flowing. Now that he's arrested, his money is pretty much gone, right? It's pretty much for nobody's getting paid from Diddy at all. I don't think, right? So her lawyer says, why don't you just put Jay-Z's name on there? Shit, this is the right time that he's going to either come up with some money to keep this out of court, or we'll just throw his name out there in the diaspora and let him get dragged just like everybody else. That's what I'm thinking is going on. Now, I don't, the inconsistencies in her story, I don't even know why her lawyer, she's doing this without her lawyer. He would never have told her to be an interview with anybody. Shut your mouth and sit down. That interview, I don't know. So, any one of you, what say you guys based on that?
It's not adding up. For me, at least. Because you went from one rich guy to the next rich guy. I think she's trying to get a paycheck at this point.
They're all trying to.
And here's my other question here. And maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm just being me again. What is a 13-year-old doing by herself with her father there?
Well, 13-year-old, let's just say she's strayed. But the fact is that he picked her up and actually picked her up. Right? That's the thing that got me. Because I don't know. I remember when my daughters were 13 years old. I don't know, Trey, your daughter ain't 13 yet. But at 13 years old, I don't think there was ever a point where I didn't know where my kids were. Not for a second.
So what? Why are we sitting here acting like 13-year-old girls can't get access?
Yeah, that's what I just said there.
Fake IDs. We acting like 13-year-old girls aren't overdeveloped. Like, why do we do this? Why do we have these conversations? We try to act like this stuff isn't real. It's absolutely. As a matter of fact, Take Heed told the whole story when she was 15 how she was sneaking in clubs. She told the whole story about it. This idea that some 13-year-old couldn't end up in somebody's hotel room at the end of the night, it could absolutely and has absolutely happened. And it will continue to happen until men wake up and stop being horny all the time and stop having the need to have some girl at your party or in your hotel room. This is absolutely could happen. Now, here's my question. My question to this is was Jay-Z named in the lawsuit prior to Diddy being arrested?
No.
And her lawyer is a shiesty dude. Like the dude that she got, her lawyer, he's a money grabber guy. He's a money grabber guy. Mm-hmm. So there are some things where if you were looking at it from that point and saying, yeah, this is probably a money grab, I can agree with you. Because of his reputation for what he's known for doing, and the fact that Jay-Z, if he was a part of this heinous crime, alleged heinous crime, why wasn't he listed in the beginning?
He wasn't.
Right. So from that aspect, I can say, yeah, there's inconsistencies. Her story doesn't make sense. But that's just her. That's just her in this particular sense. You have to take every single one of these and you have to peel back the layers on every single case. You can't just put a blanket over these cases and say, see, that one girl, she was lying. So that means they all lying. No,
No. Let's level set that. We're not. I'm certainly, hopefully, nobody's getting that impression. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that it's not a one-off that men are being falsely accused. It's not like it's so rare. I mean, if it was like just onesies and twosies, like, because we're not going to go through 1,000 cases today, but it's not. Women lying about shit. It's not like it's not really an exception. Men lie, like men lie, and people lie, right? People in general lie, right? So this notion that women wouldn't make up a whole full-fledged story to for whatever reason, right? I mean, we could talk about Carly Russell with the white baby, right? And just the whole nine. I mean, we still don't know where she was. I think the prosecutors had to make that part of the deal. They just didn't release it. She had to tell them. I would have never accepted her plea deal if she didn't let me know exactly where she was. But I mean, so yeah, it's hard to go through this kind of discussion without almost sounding like we're saying women lie most of the time. Well, that's not true. I'm not saying that. We're not saying it, but it's not like this big exception. It's really not. I just think it's a lot. I mean, even from the lady who killed the 2 boys years ago and blamed it on a strange black man in the neighborhood. I mean, that became a thing. Oh, the black man did it. The black man actually became a thing where they had to stop.
Yeah, I mean, we had several stories of football players that were falsely accused, went to prison, and then later found out. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There's been a lot of men, regardless of race, who have been falsely accused, right? And have been falsely convicted, right?
Exactly. Well, the Innocence Project.
Right, but there are still a lot of cases where they ain't falsely accused, and this is absolutely the guy who did it.
They deserve to get what they got.
And they deserve everything that came to them. So I'm just saying.
I agree with that. So let's go back to your premise.
I can give you a great example that happened at a local dojo around here that I used to work out. This is like 2 years after I'm not employed there anymore. One of their instructors was literally sleeping with a 13-year-old, and the mother walked in, the whole thing. So, like, now the school is saying, why was it? The parents like, why the sensei? One of the senseis was doing this. Why wasn't it called? It was a whole 9 thing. I remember getting a knock on the door. I go, I see 2 officers like, oh, what the fuck? And they're asking me questions like, I haven't been there in 2 years. I don't know. I'm telling you this, but I understand they have to cross every T and dot the I's. They have to ask me questions, whatever. But the point is, again, it happens. Like Frank said, it happens all the time.
So I got one for you, Trey. And shit, man, I should have wrote it down too.
Your memory.
It'll come back to me because it's funny because it's a trade-off like everything else. Shit, it was good too, man. Yeah, it was really good. Right? It was good. It just popped out of my way too long. I should have wrote it down like everything else. God damn it, it's got to come back to me. But anyway, we got more cases than just Jay-Z. Right, we have more cases than Jay-Z. He's got the lawyers. Maybe we'll see what happens with him. I just don't think that it's kind of crazy to me to see how so many people want to see this guy fall. And I just don't know. Yeah, part of the thing was you said something about men need to be more cognizant of what they're doing when they're with the women. What's the trade-off with that? In terms of what the other part, that was one part. The other part was something not with the women per se, but men being, cognizant of who they sleep with, why they sleep with it. But there's another part that I was going to say that's on a woman's side, not in terms of her saying yes, but something else. It was good too because it's going to come to me before it's over. But anyway, so what's the other big case that's out there? The ISIS papers, right? And just let me just go ahead and kind of segue to the lady, the trophy wife, right? The trophy wife lady. And let me find that one. Yeah, this one. And I'm not going to play a lot of this. Now, this woman here, right?
The person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare. I was changing my 4-year-old daughter. I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive. Immediately, my first thought was, did someone touch her? Oh God. I asked her, I said, baby, did somebody touch you? And she ended up saying it was Daddy. I felt like my world ended on that day. When I got to the hospital, they basically told me that he had actually been touching both of my daughters, who are only 2 and 4 years old.
So let me. Now, she's on this podcast called Hardly Initiated, and she does an interview with them. But that was when she did her own thing on TikTok. I'm not going to play any of that interview, but anybody who wants to see that, did you? I don't know if you saw that interview on Hardly Initiated, in either one of you, where they were sitting down.
I can't stomach Hardly Initiated.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story. That's probably a whole other story. But anyway, I'm saying that I don't believe. Forget all of this shit. I didn't believe her either, right? Because, and she kind of says too much on Hardly Initiated, because I went through it, and she talks about, in marriage grape, that the 1 month in he raped her, and those 2 kids are his, but she came in with 2 kids of her own. Now he's in his 50s, right? He didn't have any children. He's well-to-do. He has money, and her assertion is that sometimes predators want to wait to have their own kids to prey on, right? Because he has 2 daughters by her. Those 2 girls are his blood kids, right? And here's one of my problems, Trey. I know you might beat me up on this. As many men as I know, nobody's going to admit to you that they're a call a kid. I just can't believe off bat that that men routinely touch their daughters. I mean, we'd probably kill somebody first or delete somebody first. Now, it happens, but all of a sudden, this guy waited till he's 50-something years old with no history, no nothing of being a pedo, waited till he had his own 2 kids to do something that dastardly. It's hard to stomach that shit, to believe it.
Well, statistics show that it's typically the stepfather who does the majority of it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, that's that. Here's the issue. Let me ask you this question, because I put a lot of this on him and his poor
judgment.
Yes. It's poor judgment and decision. How long did it take them to get married?
Like a week or two.
A week or two. He married her within a week.
I was going to get to that, but go ahead.
There's no way you could have known anything. My rule was 24 months. But there's no way you could know anything about her. So again, while he's innocent, I didn't believe her either. He's innocent, but could you have avoided this situation by making better decisions as a man? Yes. You could have avoided this situation because it probably would have come up. Here's the second part of this. What do I often tell men about dating women who have kids?
Right.
Don't be a step dummy. So he's making all kinds of mistakes. He's making poor choices. And this is what you get for it. I don't feel bad for you. This is what you get for it. You don't date women who have kids. That's a mistake. And the second part of it is that you don't get married after a week. It's impossible to know somebody after a week. So here we are with another man making poor decisions, and it came back to bite him in his ass.
Right.
Because now you're being accused of something that you didn't do, and that more than likely your stepson did.
Yeah.
More than likely, stepson did it. Did the nasty work right here. But she, instead of blaming her own flesh and blood, she blamed her husband. In which, in actuality, they're supposed to be side by side. At some point in time, listen, I can sit here till I'm blue in the face and blame the women. Oh, the women. At some point in time, we have to start looking at these dudes and going, y'all are just stupid.
Stupid.
Like y'all are just stupid at this point.
Well, okay, so yeah. Listen, there's even people saying, wanted to try to blame Shira 7 for her shtick, right? With this, but this ain't her fault for sure. This lady had 2 kids. The oldest she had 2 kids from 2 different men within 4 or 5 years. The oldest kid has issues from what we hear, and she kind of alludes to that also. And so he was sending text messages to his stepdaddy that were threatening. He was sending him just threatening messages, all kinds of stuff. And of course, she's going to protect her son, but she doesn't care about them. Can you imagine how many times he heard her getting her back blown out in one of these in the places she was taking him? Right. So now he has these 2 little sisters who have, probably being adored by this new man, and he's in a house, and he's experimenting on, and they say that he might have touched his little brother too. Just all alleged, right? But it's gonna come out. But here, the reason why we know the cops don't believe her, that's why this guy still has some anonymity. He's not arrested, but he like you said, his stupidity has ruined him. Can you imagine getting to 50-something years old? You got money, right? Because now you want a trophy wife, but you're so stupid you don't even vet the trophy wife, right? She probably didn't have to do nothing.
Or our Payne, you don't use a service to vet them.
Yeah,
you're rich. You're rich. You got a bunch of money. Hire a service. Hire a private investigator. Do your due diligence. Like, I don't get these dudes, and I'm telling you, I said this before. I don't think that just because you make a lot of money, that makes you smarter when it comes to
no.
A lot of these guys who got money, they're stupid when it comes to women. They have no idea how to deal with women at all.
They're stupid as hell.
Oh, you want me to read it? I'll read it for you.
No. I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at it. I just wanted to know letters are bigger. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. I mean, the point really is that, all the points are right. You're right. Men are stupid. That's a good premise to come up with, because a lot of this shit could be avoided.
And here's the thing, Payne. I'm not guaranteeing that if you do all the vetting, that you still won't have these problems.
Yes.
There's no guarantee.
No guarantees in life.
That's the risk you take. However, the risk is much lower if you do the work.
You do something.
And in this day and age, you gotta hire a private investigator. You gotta hire somebody to make sure that she's not on sugar dating sites, sugar daddy dating sites. You gotta make sure she don't have an OF. Like, you gotta do your homework on these women. If you're talking about marriage. Marriage. You have to put in the work. You have to do your due diligence. And if you don't do your due diligence, she could be blaming a SA case on you that her own child did.
Right. But you know what? Even with these things, allegedly, right? Even these things that are known to us, that's one of the biggest things that nobody talks about when guys sign up to be stepdaddies. One word. And the default value for the woman has to be to believe her kids.
Absolutely. Well, what else? What other side would she take, Payne?
She can't.
If her 16-year-old daughter comes to you and says, Trey saw me coming out of the bathroom, she has no choice.
That's right.
No choice but to take her side.
Yeah.
Which is why, and I oftentimes say this: if you just are dead set on dating a single mom, just don't date one that has a daughter, because you are literally putting yourself in a bad position. And it takes one. I don't think people understand. It just takes one allegation.
Innuendo. Not even just an innuendo. I feel a little uncomfortable when he looks at me. I'm saying, come on. You guys are crazy. Go ahead, Sparta. What'd you say?
You're going to set yourself for being in a bad situation really fast, because if the daughter, sorry, if the stepdaughter or whatever, your girlfriend's good daughter, says, "Oh, he touched me or whatever," and he didn't, it's her word against his again, and then you just open yourself a big can of worms. Again,
but it's different though with a kid. It's not. It's
agree.
more than just her word against yours.
I agree.
Right? Her word. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish.
Her word goes a lot further.
It's just no doubt about.
Like, let's say it's a regular, let's say myself and Jasmine, okay, whatever, we're adults, whatever is misunderstanding, whatever, we can know. But with a 13, 14, 6, 9, whatever age the kid is, her word is like the gospel almost. Like, oh, he touched me. Like, all of a sudden, you have the SWAT team busting through your door, like putting your handcuffs, like, oh, what the fuck? It can get that serious really fast, and it also, in a very, very few cases, you find out, oh, I just made it up because I didn't want to get in trouble for my homework or whatever, whatever the case is. Rare cases it does happen, but it does happen still.
Well, you're right. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Here's the niece.
On this computer screen or on this platform, I'm letting you know that this is the truth. This woman is no records that she has been, that little girl has been touched by my uncle. No records. She tried to put it on my uncle that he abused her youngest son, which loves my uncle to death. But the day that her and her ex tried to put out there that my uncle had abused her son, he wasn't in the state. He wasn't nowhere near. So once they went to the hospital and they took the little boy to the hospital, the one thing that they didn't do this time is the social workers pulled him aside and started asking him questions and asked him, who hurt you? Come to find out, the little boy told and said that it was her. Not only that, her oldest son has sent my uncle threatening messages. He has rubbed poop on the walls at multiple family members' house, including theirs. He has pushed his younger brother down the stairs to the point where he had a concussion, and she didn't want to take him to the hospital because she didn't want them to know that she had, a son that had been abusing all her other kids. And then not only that, he hasn't just touched the two girls, he's touched all three of the kids. He's touched his little brother, he's touched his 4-year-old sister, and he's touched his 2-year-old sister. But all of this will come out eventually. My uncle cannot say anything right now because the case is still open. But my thing is, you're sitting over here saying that he did all of this stuff, but if he did, the police themselves said that he would be in jail. They would have took him to jail as soon as the hospital said, oh my gosh, the baby's been touched. He would have been in booking right away. He wouldn't be out right now working. He wouldn't be out right now being bothered with all of this extra stuff that you're putting on him because of the fact that you want money. Like, what mother uses this platform to sit up there and say, my babies have been raped or my babies have been touched, excuse me, and then sit over there and then try to put a GoFundMe page up? You know why she's putting that GoFundMe page up? Because my uncle has had enough. He's not giving you any money. He's not sitting over there playing into your little schemes where she sits over there and tries to have her kid's father call his phone to get him to talk to the kids so that she can say he's in breach of a restraining order. Like, there's so much proof behind all of this stuff that you all do not realize that is going to come down on her head. But yet you all are sitting over here believing her sob story, not doing your research, and paying her money. This girl has up to $2,000 already on GoFundMe, probably more now because I haven't even checked this morning.
We can stop it there, right? So You know, on the Hardly Initiated podcast, right, that I watched, there was a point at the end where they brought in a real therapist, and the therapist was saying, you know, give yourself time to heal, get off of social media, and, you know, stop talking about this case. She said she has no regrets, by the way, on her choices, right? Her kids have been touched, but she don't have no regrets, which is crazy. And because that one thing is true, the daughters have been, that's been proven. We just don't know by who, right? We don't think it's the father. So at the end of the podcast of Hardly Initiated, the lady says, you need to get off of social media, let yourself get a time to heal, let people back away and say, why are you doing all this? And she, you know what her answer was? Well, I'm on, are you going to write me a check? Because she's talking about the case. So, are you going to write me a check? First of all, she's boo-hoo. She's fake crying the whole interview, right? The voices crackling and all that. But when the social worker charged her up, it was like straight venom. You know, you gonna write me a check? You guys can come on here and say anything you want, but you're not writing me a check. I'm gonna eat. You know, write me a check. I said, holy shit. You know, I don't know. It's tough. You know, but
that's the world we live in today. Like the world we live in today is that everything can be monetized. That's why I laugh at y'all when y'all talk about bringing shame back. This is why I get a good chuckle out of it. You can't shame anybody because they can monetize their shame. They can make money off of it. I guarantee that Hardly Initiated probably gave her a few dollars to come on and do that interview.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Because otherwise she wouldn't have been there. And what do we expect from a sheer 7 disciple? Right? Like, what do we expect? Here's the thing, I don't have a problem with it. I'm a firm believer that if you're good at something, never do it for free. So I don't have a problem with her getting her money. I think the GoFundMe, I think they need to tighten. I think GoFundMes need to have some sort of federal penalties behind it. If you are found to be like sort of, you know, shucking, like jerking the public around, right?
Right.
We should be doing fed time for that. But this idea, listen, again, as much as she is what she is, obviously, my personal belief is that she lied about it. We wouldn't even be here.
If the guy,
this man would have just done a little bit,
Trey,
of vetting. We wouldn't even be having this problem if he would have just done a little bit of vetting. This is the point that I try to make a lot of times when I'm trying to explain that you not vetting a woman properly over the correct amount of time can have, I mean, disastrously like problems in the future. Like it can just everything around him, even though he's innocent, in my opinion, at least I think he's innocent, it's still crumbling around him.
Right.
And he still got the stink. He still got the stink of being a child diddler, even though he's probably more than likely innocent.
Right. You know, let me ask you, but okay, Trey, but how do you answer the human condition of men, their natural inclination to be banging out chicks? I mean, it's not just a psychosis, right? Even if all men were good, right? Let's just say all men were good. They all men. If you're hetero, let's talk about heterosexuals, right? That's why homosexuality is another deal, because there's no governors at all. Right, because men don't normally have governors. So when they fool around with each other, there's no governors. So how does a man overcome? Well, it's a dumb question, but kind of answer it. How do you think men are going to overcome their natural inclination to want to be with women from time to time? And is it, you know, do you have to go through like a lawyer every time you want to get laid?
Very simple. Y'all are going to hate this answer.
Go ahead.
This is the simplest way. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pay for it.
Okay. All right. Just pay for it.
Just hear me out here. Because I know a lot of people say, oh, you're a trick, and you're this, and you're that. If all you want is to just get that off for the night, why put yourself through the whole relationship thing? Why put yourself through the whole fiance, the whole marriage thing, the whole having kids thing, and maybe you might get to hit it once or twice a month? That doesn't make any sense. Work your way up. That way you can afford what you want. It does, to me, it makes no sense to put yourselves in these positions, right? Because whether he likes it or not, he's gonna have to hire a lawyer.
Right.
I'll tell you guys all the time. All men pay. I don't care which
Oh
one.
yeah.
In the front door, you can pay in the back door, but you're gonna pay.
You gonna
One way
pay.
or another. How much is he gonna pay for that divorce attorney now?
Yeah.
Because because I don't believe they have a prenup.
He was just stupid all the way around. Maybe he did.
So just hear me out. You wanted a trophy wife. You had a little feeling, a little burning inside to get a trophy wife. Why couldn't you just hire a trophy wife?
With a 1099.
Boom. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You still gonna pay money one way or the other. And now you got to hire an attorney who's going to charge you $1,500 an hour, billable, because they're all about their billables. You know what I mean? And their billable hours, right?
Yeah.
And now you got to go in there. You got to start to divvy up all the assets, dissolution. Oh, and by the way, you had kids with her, so child support is going to be written into the divorce decree. How much is it going to cost you now? When all you really wanted was a pretty little thing to do some little things to you.
Yeah, well, you know what? Okay, you're absolutely right, but I think he wanted children. That's why she was so young. But the fact is, you're right. But you just gave me a nice idea. I wrote that down. Maybe I could have a show called the 1099 Wife. The 1099, man, make that into a whole show, man. Shit, because that's essentially that's what we're talking about. Partnership, wife, pay for it. I don't know. That's just something to think about. What say you, Sparta?
Well, the thing is, you're gonna pay anyway.
You're gonna pay anyway. Oh, yeah.
You're gonna pay anyway.
I can't.
As much I hate to agree with him, Trey's 100% right.
He's right,
and that is rare between me and him. It's paying for a seat on the air, by the way. But he's absolutely right. Fucking pay a prostitute. Simple as that. This is why some countries still have prostitution as a career.
Yeah,
they're licensed. They get tested.
Which country just moved to a union? There was a country that just allowed them to unionize. I think I can't remember.
I'm not sure about that one.
No. Not. I'm sorry, not unionize. Allowed them to get health benefits. I gotta look that up. I'll look it up while you're talking, Sparta.
So why not we get back to that? But also, let me ask another question for everybody. Like, are we into a world now that we are scared to get intimate with our own wives, our own girlfriends, our own whatever you have? It gets to the point. Seriously, it is to the point that you are scared to like you have to get it. Like, hang on, let me get a contract out here. You write a contract out here. Can you please sign here on the dotted line, please? Make sure I can kiss you or bang you tonight or whatever. It's seriously, are we getting to that point that we need contracts? Are we getting to the point that we need an expiration date, a renewal of a contract every few years? Well, I think we're getting to that point. Like, we were never meant to be like that. You were married, what, or Payne, 50 years so far? You're mute.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So 30, did you ever have pressure back in the day when you were start dating, when you were in where in your 20s, 30s, whatever you were?
Yeah, what about it?
Did you have to ask permission? Can I hold your hand? Please don't call the cops because I'm holding your hand, kind of thing? Or was it more like that?
You don't have to do that today, but if you're going to be intimate, it depends. The real intimate relationships, I don't think we're going to get to that level, but we can. It's a slippery slope. But nobody's having really. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but the amount of people who are monogamous in relationships that towards marriage is still going down, or it's flat. It's flatline. So to all the relationships that boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever that means when you're 30 years old, is they're all tenuous at best. They're all hanging on by a thread, if you ask me. They might think that everything is going well, but it just doesn't seem that it is. And one mistake, then all of a sudden somebody's on the internet saying, this is what happened to me, mostly women. And it's crazy. So you're right, but how does that really protect you? I mean, I know the guy, I used to watch The Walking Dead, right? The Walking Dead when it was popular. The guy used to do the after show. His girlfriend he left his girlfriend. And he was so-called a bad boyfriend. She came out with some shit that got him suspended for the show for over a year on some allegation And it took him a year to clear his name. They eventually put him back on the show. But he looked like a shell of himself after that. He looked like a shell of himself. I mean, just because he was a bad boyfriend. So I don't know how you get around it, man. Trey got the answer, man. Yeah, solo.
Well, the issue here is that we have a stigma, right? The stigma of you're paying for it, right? Because that's the one thing that men will insult or shame another man for. Well, you can't really get a girl, so you got to pay for it. No, in most cases, the safest route is to pay for it.
Yeah,
because there's a understanding, and she's typically professional, and she understands exactly what she's here for, and she also knows when it's time to get up and go home.
That's
right. You don't have to worry about retroactive consent because there's a transactional nature here. Right. Now, I'm not saying that you still couldn't, it still couldn't go as far as her wanting to take you to court or sue you civilly for some sort of SA crime. But the odds are much lower. You want to know why? Because this is how these women make their money.
Because you got a receipt.
You got a receipt, and typically these women are a little bit. These women are typically more safer,
right?
Because if they can't afford to get STDs because it messes with their money. So I'm telling you guys, people don't want to hear it. This is the direction that our society is going to, where men are not going to be ashamed of just saying, "I just rather pay for it."
Yeah, I got. Hey, look,
I don't have the headache.
Say that again.
No, I'm saying that they don't have the headache of worrying about all these other things. Now, here's the thing: the trade-off on that, though, Payne, is you are going to have less families.
That's
you
right.
are going to have less families, and you are going to have less children.
That's right.
And you are going to have more women who are going to be in this trade. That is the trade-off. But do you think men really care? Like, honestly, if you really sat down and asked a lot of men, do you really want a family? Yeah, you're going to get a few of them that are going to say, yeah, I actually really want a family. But a lot of guys, when they really sit down and think about it, they're like, no, I don't. That's not really what I want. What's really happening, Payne, is something that we don't want to talk about when it comes to men, is that the fact that most men can't actually pull women on just a sex basis alone. They can't do it. So they have to offer the relationship. They don't have a choice. That's the only way they're going to get her. They have to offer the relationship to get her. And that's why most of these guys are in relationships, because that is their only access to sex. But if you take that out and we get rid of the stigma, we get rid of the shame, most of these guys would not get in relationships. They would just have a chick they want to. That's why these OnlyFans are making so much money. They're making so much money because these guys are paying for it.
Yeah, there's just no doubt about it. Well, Bill Belichick's girlfriend is 24 years old.
25, yeah. I thought it was 25. Yeah.
So everybody know he's tricking. He don't care. He got all this money.
He don't give a damn.
Shit, he got more money he could spend for the rest of his life. I might as well spend it on the honey. While everything
Al Pacino's baby mama was like 28. Come on, man. We know what's going on there. We know what's going on there. Like, let's get past this stigma of men paying for women. It's my personal belief that beauty is not free. And it's my personal belief that women are not free. And if you want a beautiful woman, and you want a woman that's going to, get down on a more regular basis, it's probably going to cost you something.
It's going to cost you money.
It's going to cost you something. It may not always be money.
It's going to cost you.
It could be attention. It could be time. It's going to be something.
Well, but listen, let me ask you. Isn't that part of the nature? If we took it to the wilderness, right? The lion, right? He bangs out all the women, all the lady lions in the pride, but it costs him protection.
After he fights to the death.
Right.
He got to fight to the death to get the fight to do it.
Got to kill everybody around him. He gets some ass.
He has to kill the alpha male to get there.
That's right.
You take penguins. Penguins go and go find the biggest rocks they can find to present it to the female penguin so he can get a little piece. Right? Yeah. Peacocks work on their feathers for a whole year so that they can do what?
Put
the feathers up so they can this is even in nature.
It's in nature.
The box ain't free.
Price to pay.
It ain't free. It's a price to pay.
It's a price to pay. Get a grip, man. I can't even count. My price over the. My wife might say the same thing. You don't even know about my price. Your price wasn't as much as mine, baby. Just stop. Just stop it. You know what I'm saying? Don't even try that. Anyway, I got this one for you. Okay, let's go ahead. Megyn Kelly's going to talk about the Duke lacrosse.
It's such a crazy story on so many levels, you guys. And
Let's
for
hit
me
a couple of
personally,
minutes
it
on
has an additional layer because this is the story on which I cut my teeth as a young reporter at Fox News. Many of you may remember that. I actually heard saw a lot of people tweeting at me and emailing us saying they do remember our coverage because it was not only a massive travesty of justice, almost, but it was a massive travesty of journalism. And virtually everyone was sinful. I will be honest, I don't remember anyone other than yours truly and Dan Abrams at Court TV at the time, reporting honestly on this case, reporting accurately on this case. Everyone else in the media rushed to judgment because what was alleged in this case, for those of you who were not around or too young to care, or it's just been a long time, was that on March, I don't remember the date, but in March of 2006, 3 Duke lacrosse players gang raped a woman of color, a Black woman from Durham, North Carolina. That's where Duke is located. And Durham has a not well-off side of town, and it is a minority town. So these are 3 white boys at Duke on the lacrosse team and 1 Black stripper who claimed she'd been gang raped by them. I mean, just in those allegations alone, you can see and feel how explosive it was and would have been. And it allegedly happened at a house in which the Duke lacrosse team was holding a party. So it wasn't just these 3, it was the team. And this hit the media like wildfire. They loved this story. Now with retrospect, we've got some, 19 years of dealing with this version of the news media under our belts. So you're not surprised to hear that given those dynamics, the racial differences, the class differences, the gender differences, that the media rushed to judgment against these boys. But at the time, believe it or not, we weren't like that yet in the media. We weren't used to the media doing this. It was still a time in which we tended to be more judicious in our coverage and careful. And this was the before and after moment at which we abandoned that. It really was. This was the seminal moment in the media leaning into what we now know as wokeness when they looked at cases and stories like this one. It was.
Let me stop it there for a second. Now, this case was huge, right? Because there's so many bodies in its wake, right? There was, it destroyed. It was, 2006? Everything. Duke in his pristine reputation, everything. Everybody went down, man. It was tough on one lady's lie. Right? And I got some more about her coming up, but just on one lady's lie. And that's right. This is where Megyn Kelly made her bones. She actually made her bones on that. So I got a little bit more I'm going to play of her, and then we're going to get to Magnum, whatever her name is, Magnum. Anyway, so, and her mea culpa. Unbelievable. Let me move this along. Let me move this along to here. I think that's where I want to start it.
We start working sources, and it was insane. So many crazy things happened when I was down there. One night we were trying to find her. She was impossible to find. She had gone underground. She accused 3 boys of rape, and she went completely underground. No one could find her. No one's even trying to find her because they just wanted to believe her story. And what we did to find her, we went into this strip club after strip club. It was hilarious, actually, because we'd walk in. We try to act like civilians so they wouldn't mark us as press. And we were 2 steps into the door of these facilities, and they'd say press, and my team looked at me and said, "It's you." They said, we're their bread and butter. They would never suspect us as press. Anyway, we had many funny conversations with these strip club owners where I got my fake strip club stripper name, where we asked the one guy, what do you think, what would my name be if we got up here? And one of my guys said something like, how about sugar? And he said, white confectioner sugar, which is like the pastiest sugar there is. I don't think it was a compliment. Anywho, on we go. That's just one memory I have. She was sat down by the police and given a photo lineup of the Duke lacrosse team. That was her allegation. I've been gang raped by Duke lacrosse players. And so they gave her the Duke lacrosse roster, which is not an appropriate lineup at all. That's accepting that it was definitely somebody on the Duke lacrosse team. Any sane person would have put in, at the police station, would have put in non-Duke lacrosse players, plenty of them, into a bigger lineup and asked her to choose. Well, it turns out she failed even the stacked test that they gave her and was unable to identify anybody. And we would later learn that she went through it at least twice and was unable to identify anybody. And then under pressure, she selected one of the team's captains, Dave Evans, who was a senior, and two others.
There was a lot of other missteps on there as well. And it wasn't just that. It's that she also, the DA at the time also was up for re-election in that Durham area where most people were Black. So he wanted to, so of course, in order to get reelected, he would get 4 or 5 more years, which would have bumped up his pension to a whole nother level when he retired. So he had incentive to just do whatever he did. And there's some more salacious stuff that he did, but so he wasn't an honest broker either. And in the next video, we'll find out that, you know, he got indicted and convicted. So it was a bad thing all the way. The athletic director, the players. Now it turns out that they turned out to have gotten some settlements out of Duke and some other places, and their lives was Arrested Development, of course, the stigma, but they got millions in their pockets, and they're all professional men now with their own families and all that kind of stuff. So it didn't destroy them for life. But going through that, they were facing 30 years in prison. 30 years, one woman, one lie. And it didn't matter the fact that she led a salacious life, because before we said, right, that a woman's past doesn't matter, right? So they went by that, and maybe it shouldn't. If it's not probative, or if it's not something that okay, it shouldn't. So she got the benefit of the doubt for all kinds of the wrong reasons. Now, let me just go ahead and jump to her confession. And let's see her up close and personal, right? This is it.
Years later, Crystal Mangum says she was lying the whole time.
I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't, and that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God. And that was wrong when God already loved me for who I was, regardless. I didn't need to seek validation from him because I already had validation from him. I just didn't know it. And I hurt my brothers. And I hope that they can forgive me. And I want them to know that I love them. And they didn't deserve that. And I hope they can forgive me. And that I hope that they can heal and trust God and know that God loves them and that God is loving them through me, letting them know that they're valuable and that they didn't deserve that.
Joining me now is CNN's Gene Casares, who reported heavily on the case.
Yo, women suck at apology.
These accusations and the result were at.
All right, let's hold it down for a second on this one. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
No, women suck at apologies, bro. Like they suck at them. Like, no, you ruined 3 men's lives. You almost ruined the reputation of a prestigious university because they believed you.
Right.
They believe the university believed you. And let me tell you something. I remember this case. Let me tell you why I remember this case. Because I was just coming back from Saudi Arabia. I was in the military at the time. I was just coming back from Saudi Arabia. I had just done 8 months over in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And when I got back, I thought, like, hey, we're going to, everybody gets together, hangs out, and, and none of the guys wanted to go to a house party. None of them. And it was because of this case. That's how popular this case was. And this was 2006. I was in Alaska. So this was all the way up in Alaska. The guys were like, nah, we're not going to no house party. We're not going to anything that will isolate us with women at all. Like, we can play poker. We can go to a pool hall. We can go bowling, but we're not going to any. And they were dead serious. They were not going to put themselves in positions because even then, they didn't believe the story. Now, I want to be clear. Most everybody believed that these boys did it. That's just the facts. There was very few people who didn't believe that they didn't do it. Majority of the people, just like the Central Park 5, majority of people believe that they did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it is what it is. But I'm glad that they were able to get some reprieve from Duke University. They all got $20 million off of Duke University. They wound up suing Duke University. I'm glad that worked out for them. But I've always found it funny that when a man lies, typically the only person that gets hurt is the man who lies, for the most part.
Right.
But when a woman lies, there's like catastrophic events that happen. Like, people's lives get jacked up behind this. Like, when you think about it, you got three men and their families.
Right.
And then the attorney ends up in jail.
Just
because he's trying to prove the case. He doesn't want to be wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he ends up in jail. And then, not to mention, she's giving this interview from prison because she's in jail. She's in prison. She's serving 14 years on a second degree murder case.
Yeah, she deleted her.
All of these people's lives are affected off of one lie.
Yeah.
And I always thought the funniest part about this whole thing is I know what a stacked lineup is. I know how to do a stacked lineup.
Right.
If you can't pick them out of a stacked lineup, then that means that you don't know who did this to you, or they just didn't do it at all. So when they failed, for those of y'all who don't know, when officers give you a stacked lineup or investigators give you a stacked lineup, they basically it's like okay, say Sparta was the criminal. They would put Sparta in the lineup. They put R. Payne in the lineup. They put me in the lineup, and they put 5 other black people in the lineup. And he would be the only one that stuck out. That's a stacked lineup. Like, it's like you can't mess this up. If this is the guy who did it, you can't mess it up because he's the only one who even comes close to fitting the description. So like because most lineups, everybody has to look the same. They have to resemble. Right. So if he's bald, you got to have a lineup of bald men. You know what I mean? Right. And if he's short, you have to have a lineup of short men. You know what I mean? Like it has to resemble because you have to sort of try to make it difficult for the person to be able to pick this person out of a lineup. But when I heard stacked, I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't do this. They didn't do this because you can't fail a stacked lineup at all. And this idea that this is one of the weakest apologies. I hope God. Why do you always want to bring God into it? I hope God can. Like, how do you do that? You know what I mean?
What else could she really say, man? She doing a bid for 14 years.
But you know what she should have said? This is what she should have said. What she should have said is that I was wrong, I lied, and karma's a bitch because I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That would have been a better apology. I lied on you guys. I lied on y'all. I ruined your lives. I ruined the life of the attorney who believed me.
Yeah.
And fought for me. He basically broke the law. He ended up in jail. Right.
That's right.
And because of everything that I put all these people in, all these positions I put all these people in, I ended up in prison. And this is where I should be. And she should be humble enough to say, I did a lot of wrong to a lot of people, and I deserve to be where I'm at. That is a proper apology. And that's why I say women suck at apologies, bro.
Well, first of all, if they don't like accountability, how they going to be good at apologies?
But you know what it is? They don't get any practice. Because they don't apologize when they're little girls, so they don't get any practice apologizing. Boys are always apologizing.
That's so funny. Listen, I'm not gonna play any more of the video because we know it. You know what? One of the deciding factors is that they actually did a DNA test on the chick. She had 5 different semen samples in her. 5.
Who does that remind you of? What case does that remind you of? Kobe Bryant.
Oh, that's right.
Kobe Bryant, the girl who accused Kobe Bryant, had 4 different men's semen in one pair of underwear.
Yeah, and none of them belong to any 3 of those dudes.
Right.
Yeah, just so
think back for a second. Think back.
Wait, hold on. Let me just say this. Go ahead. Hold on to that. Right. Don't forget the thing.
I'm not that old as you. I remember.
There was an intern who actually went through and read the reports. He read the reports. The evidence was right there. Even their defense lawyer, I don't know if there was a defense lawyer. He actually read like a young dude. He said, let me go through this shit. And he found that information, which they were holding back. And he elevated. But go ahead. Spawn.
If you remember years back with Michael Jackson, all these accusations came out about him.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying he did or didn't. I'm not a judge. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm not going to say he was either. But I think it's funny when they're always going after men who have money. Keyword money. And I agree with her comment. She's not fucking sorry. She was like, oh, well, I said it. I did it. And it's over with. Oh, well, shit happens. That's not right either. Okay, so she did this. What's her punishment then?
Well, they can't punish her anymore. And the problem is she's being punished because she committed she deleted her boyfriend, right? So she's in there for 2nd degree. But still, if she didn't do that, she would be walking the streets. If she didn't do that, they'll get in jail. She'd be out on the streets, just like nothing happened. I mean, destroyed lives, university, and no reprisal, none.
Our Payne. If she was free, she wouldn't have admitted. She wouldn't have admitted.
That's right. Still took it to her grave. Yeah. She would have never said.
That's the difference. Is that they can't punish her again, right? She's already in prison, and by the time she gets out of prison, most people will forget about it. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm petty. The day she steps out of that prison when she gets released, I would have my lawyer giving her a civil case. I'm gonna make her life hell. She's gonna be paying me every month until she dies.
When she gonna be paying you with sandstone?
I don't care. I don't care. To me, it would be enough to know that she has to pay me every month until she's no longer breathing for what she did to me. And here's the thing: again, that stink doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't.
Those men who are married now, I guarantee you. There's somebody who says to their wives from time to time, well, you know your husband raped that stripper. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it comes up.
Well, when you put their name if you put their name in Google, it's going to come up that they were embroiled in this case.
And they were innocent.
And there's no coming back from that, man. That's what I'm saying. So, all right. So listen, let's go down to solutions, a little bit of solutions. What are solutions to this thing? I mean, not solutions, but what can we do?
I can't even say pay for it because they did pay for it and they still got in trouble.
They still paid for it. So I had 2 things I thought that came to mind. One, that I really think that when these kind of cases come up, especially with celebrities, there should be anonymity for both the plaintiff and the defendant. That there should be a point at which when we're just gathering evidence, or we're going to make an indictment or civil libel case or a criminal libel case. Until that shit is done, I don't think either party's name should be mentioned. Because even if we're thinking about in a certain area, the court of public opinion impacts the jury, it's hard to say it won't. It's hard to say it won't.
You mean like super redacted? Super redacted. Like nobody.
Yeah. There's got to be something that protects the guy who has to defend himself. Like, how is it if Jay-Z is already? I mean, listen, the voir dire process is not fair enough to weed out the people who might be jaundiced about what they heard for the defendant. Maybe for the plaintiff, you can find somebody, but for the defendant, who like Jay-Z, who maybe people are jealous of, envy of, can't stand him, I don't think it's that easy for you to clear out the voir dire. So I think that's the one thing. The second thing I really think is that, like you said, Trey, before you cut out, was or took a break, is that if you caught lying, you should do the time. You should do. So what say you, Sparta? You got anything to add to the list? What should happen?
I think she should go to jail for that. Like, you destroy a man's life for no fucking reason. You should do some serious time. I'm not talking about like 6 months or a year. I'm talking about like maybe 10 and up. A minimum 10. And do like some, upstate hardcore. And they're going to teach you a lesson right in there. Simple. Because when I worked for the prison, I heard some horror stories. And I saw some horror stories too. Whatever you see on TV actually happens.
Right.
Trust me, there's a last place you want to be in. When Trey comes back in, he will probably, back me up on that. But yeah, whoever, it should be a law. And if they catch you lying or you come out clean later on, but again, if you make a law like that, nobody's gonna come out clean. That's the fuck up.
The laws are already on the books. It's not making a new law, right? It's at the discretion of the prosecutors. Right, so because you are obstructing justice, you're making a false claim. Some people are writing. Well, some people are signing affidavits. Right, so there's a lot of stuff. You probably could put mail fraud in there. You could probably put, making a false claim on a public document. You could do all kinds of shit like that, and they don't prosecute them for whatever. I mean, the reason for that is not, that it somehow is going to deter women who are telling the truth from coming forward. That's bullshit. Because if you tell the truth, right, and you don't win the case, that's not synonymous with you lying. You just don't. It's nowhere near synonymous. All of a sudden, they're not going to say, "Well, if you don't win, we're going to put you in jail." So you don't say anything. Those two things are not, I don't want to say mutual. I think mutually exclusive. One doesn't mean the other. Let's put it to you that way. So I think that the fact that bringing the case still, regardless, once you get over the trauma and all that kind of stuff, this notion of being punished by people who are lying, it's not going to stop a woman who's actually been assaulted from coming forward. She's not coming forward for different reasons, not because she's afraid she might go to jail if the guy doesn't get a conviction. I don't believe that that's true, and that needs to be challenged. And now that we have so many women who are DAs and prosecutors and AGs, I think that's some of the men do this too, but I think that's some of the reason why they let the women walk, because it's women letting other women walk. That's what I believe, and there's a lot of I think that
I'm going to use a trump card for a second here. I'm going to add a little monkey wrench to our conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Big man. All right, because he's not proven guilty yet, but allegedly this that he has done a lot of fucked up things to a lot of women in his own company. Again,
who, Jay-Z?
No, Vince McMahon.
Say that again.
Vince McMahon.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's use that also as an example. Again, I'm not saying
Right.
he did or didn't. I wasn't there. I don't know. You weren't there either.
Right. Okay.
But let's say for argument's sake, he did. Again, I have a hard time sitting here looking you straight in the eye, or straight in the camera in this case,
Yeah.
and telling you, I believe her. I don't, because why did you wait all this time? This happened for so many years. I know Trey says, "Oh, people, have trauma, yada yada." I don't personally. I've been through trauma myself, and when I went through my trauma, I needed to talk to somebody. When I went through something very similar, something recent, I wanted to talk more than anything.
Okay.
So again, I don't understand that personally.
But you can't really listen. You know this. There's no real equivalency between men and women in issues like this. There's not. Now there might be if we're talking about a man who's been sexually raped, right? That's probably as close as you can get to a man not wanting to, disclose what happened to him, like a woman who's been raped, right? Because that one, the shame of admitting that, and then putting that on in a court and in front of your friends and your family, and everybody's going to know that you got butt banged. That right there may be raised to the level of for a man saying, "Listen, I got punked out. I'm not letting nobody know." But right, you saw You saw Pulp Fiction. Ving Rhames wasn't going around saying, "Hey man, the guy had me in the basement and shit." He said, "I would just get in for your ass," and that's it. Did you ever saw Pulp Fiction?
A long time ago.
Man, everybody knows that scene, man. That shit. I'm surprised with all the movies you show. I'm surprised you don't know that's back and forth.
No,
anyway.
I watch so many movies. That's the problem.
But anyway, so the real point is, I hear what you're saying, but for the most important, rank and file men don't experience trauma very the same way as women do. I don't think we do. And we could. I'm not a psychologist, but I think that Trey is more right than wrong when he say it might take women time to, but it's hard when it gets to like 20 years and 25 years, and all you bring in is a civil suit. It seems more like opportunism than anything else, right? That's what it seems like, So there's a reason for statutes of limitations, and I think that when you remove them, you can't cover for all of the bad things that happen when you remove something like that, because it makes sense for things to come on the statutes. Anyway, so. I appreciate you coming up, man. Anything else on the topic you got? Chat. I appreciate the chat, man. Going back and forth a little bit on the topic. It's not an easy one, and I want to end with saying, listen, if a guy hurts a lady, and he's found, liable or guilty, he should do whatever time that he gets, right? But this whole notion that believe all women when they say something is part of the feminist outcry that got exasperated by the Me Too movement. And the pendulum has swung too far. It really has, because men are actually being really destroyed, man. And it's not right. Innocent people are being destroyed. It's not right. It's not right. Not to get the bad guys. You can't shit on everybody else just to get to the bad guys. I don't agree with that. Especially if there's no reprisal, on the person who's actually lying. So with that, anybody else? Nobody else came up, man. Trey's gone. Hey, thanks, Trey, for popping in for the second. Thanks, Sparta. I know I didn't see the show last night. I was doing something else, but how did that go?
The good one. Oh, actually, you missed a good one, bro.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. You're a veteran, right?
No, I work for the Department of Defense. I just work for the soldiers. I never worked more.
No, we had a boss man last night. We did a nice interview with him. It was very, very educated on my side too. It was very good interview. Again, because somebody had to take a vacation, Paul. And so, joking aside, but seriously, it was a really good, it was a good interview. I'm looking forward to bringing him back for a part 2 of it, and hopefully Paul will be back by then. So I think it'll be a very educated, very educated, yeah. That like people who, that's why I like bringing a lot of the service people on, because I know this stuff because I love this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I know about military. It's something I was fascinated at a very young age. Again, I couldn't go in because of my knee, but I'm still educated. I know a lot of people.
Right.
But people who are not educated, thinking, oh, they're just people with a paycheck. It's not a paycheck only. It's a way of life. There's a lot of things in the middle of it. So never ask them, never think for the service. Ask them what they did. Like CQ, my buddy, said on my show, and buy them a drink. You may learn something. Too.
Well, yeah, that's cool. Let me ask you a question though, and I should have asked this earlier. So back in when did you leave your old country? When was the last time you left?
Officially, when I came to States officially, that was back in 1998.
Oh gosh, man, you've been here for a long time. Do they have and maybe this is a Western thing, but do they have a similar issue with believable women back in your town, or how do they treat these cases back in Greece?
They're having the same problem right now there. This is my great cross globe, because I still watch the Greek news. If I go downstairs, the Greek news is always on 24/7. That's the only thing she listens to. My mother, I stream it from Greece. They have similar issues, but the jury system is completely different. If you came out after 13 years like this wouldn't even hit the media. They were throwing this, like the lawyer would have thrown it in the garbage. Like, I'm not taking this case. You have a small window.
So they have a statute of limitations they follow no matter what.
Very small, even the lawsuits. I believe the lawsuit, if I'm not mistaken, I gotta double check that. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 6 months to a year. You have tops, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but that don't go for murder though, does it?
Again, I'm not sure. I don't want to give you false information on that. But on this Jay-Z rape situation we're having right now, is this we wouldn't even have this conversation right now in Greece, because they wouldn't hit. Because I'm
one of those kind of guys who believe that. I don't believe, and Trey made a good point that it's not really the time that a person may take to get there. Even if you took the time, thought the evidence string is so worn, right? I mean, how do you prove this? And then if you're the accused, how do you really disprove it? That's the problem. How do you really assert your innocence, which you have the presumption of, and maybe not in the court of public opinion, but that's the problem. It's the public who has to get on that jury and be your peers. And if they all believe that you're, a rapist or this or that, how do you get a fair trial anymore? How do you really
what kind of evidence are you going to bring to that after all these years? That's the other question.
Well, it's funny with this one girl, the lady, she said she got a ride from a 5-hour drive to get there. So a lady who could drive drove her 5 hours from her home so she can go to the show. A 13-year-old girl, yeah, that's possible. Yeah, people do that. But that lady died. So that lady who would be a key witness passed away. You know what I'm saying? So
for me personally, again, I know I'm the outsider and I have no idea what I'm talking about. For me personally, it's not adding up. 1 + 1 is not equal to 2, in my opinion, right now.
Right. So I tell you what, and my other problem is not your issue. It shouldn't even be mine. But I'm really, really disappointed in the melanated people who are so anxious to destroy any black people who made it in any way. Maybe Jay-Z is a prick. Maybe he's arrogant. Maybe, guys get arrogant. Steve Harvey's arrogant. People get arrogant when they have a lot of money. But do you want to see them fall? I don't see how you get.
Here's the difference. You can be an asshole. It's business. It's fun to even ask for money. But if that's completely different from how you are in your life, in your private life, is business and your personal life.
Right.
So he could be an asshole, but he could be a sweet asshole. You know what I'm saying?
a sweet asshole.
Yeah, like he could be an asshole. It comes to his business, his properties, his whatever. But when he's his family, his wife, and everything, he might be the sweetest guy you ever met. Like, and I do have the same problem you do. Like, I don't care your skin color, and I mentioned that.
What's that?
Is when a man
Hey, what's up,
there, and they try to take him down, and they fail a lot of times. But when they do take him down, it's like, why destroy a man? Because he's successful? I don't get it. I think that jokes.
Well, anyway, Pete, man, thanks for hanging out, man. We're gonna head end it, man. I think I don't know if we saw world peace or world hunger or anything here, but I just think that more of us, more men in general and elsewhere, need to talk about the presumption of innocence with men and the impacts of a woman lying on a man. Is not just on that man; it's on everything that he's built, all the people that are around him, and that Duke Lacrosse situation. It was one lady saying one thing was really had some like a snowball effect on a lot of lives, and and she's in jail not for that particular karma, right? You could call it karma, but she's not punished for what she did, not for that, not at all. Anyway, man, I appreciate it. We're going to sign off here. Thanks to the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us for a couple of hours, and peace out.
All right, guys, another one in the books. Another great episode on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Listen, we're doing the thing over here. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, which helps the channel, hit your boy Cash App. It's scrolling right here, right there, at the bottom of the screen. And support the channel. But we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to seeing you on every episode. So hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Thank you again, guys, for watching. We out.